I never dated here because I saw vicariously through my roommate how terrible it was. Somehow getting drinks was the replacement of having coffee and breakfast.
There's a picture of Erika Kirk with a ponytail, and from her past. That person matches who I saw at Fort Huachuca in the lobby the night before, and she was with that man in the lobby, and that man, he was present at that.
Hold up, everybody. What if the picture-perfect conservative power couple everyone looked up to was actually hiding more plot twists than a Netflix thriller? I never dated in those circles because I watched my roommate go through it vicariously, and let me tell you, it was straight-up chaos. Somehow grabbing drinks magically replaced coffee and breakfast dates. I don't even drink, I just find it kinda unproductive, you know? But it always cracked me up how someone could go for drinks with one guy and then dinner with another like it was the most normal thing in the world. But here's where it gets wild. According to people familiar with the situation, a leaked audio recording has apparently blown the lid off everything surrounding Erika Kirk. Sources close to the family are saying that Charlie Kirk didn't need the internet chirping in his ear to sense something wasn't sitting right anymore. That uneasy feeling had allegedly been building for a while, quiet, heavy, and impossible to ignore. And then boom, this tape surfaces. Insiders claim it features conversations that match up with timelines Charlie's parents had supposedly been questioning for months, not days. Months. Now the rumors are flying that Erika may have been secretly reconnecting with someone from her past, and the timing of those alleged calls and messages is raising serious eyebrows. People are even zooming in on old photos, pointing out little details like scars on hands and saying, wait a minute, whether it's a baby picture or something else, the internet is having a field day connecting dots that maybe shouldn't be connected, or maybe they should.
Picture of Erika Kirk, and I'm assuming her baby, but listen, look at her hands. I'm going to show you a picture of these scars. There's a scar right there. Zoom in on it if you need to.
Charlie's parents, according to multiple sources, have now reportedly decided enough is enough. They are allegedly pushing hard for answers, with whispers of DNA tests and all kinds of uncomfortable questions that Charlie himself had supposedly been keeping locked inside because he didn't want to light the match. This wasn't some random overnight rumor. This was a pattern, folks. A chain reaction that sources say had been quietly building behind the scenes while Erika continued to present this polished, godly, disciplined image to the world. The woman who claimed she never dated, never partied, and simply waited for the right one. But old footage, resurfaced interviews, and alleged receipts are starting to tell a slightly different story. And now that Charlie isn't here to push back or hold the narrative together, his parents are stepping directly into the middle of it. Buckle up, Buttercup, because if these rumors have any truth to them, the entire carefully curated Kirk fairy tale might be about to crack wide open, and the internet is already warming up the popcorn. And let me tell you, folks, this whole situation is starting to feel like one of those reality shows where everyone smiles for the cameras but the drama is boiling just off screen. According to people familiar with the family dynamics, Charlie Kirk didn't need endless internet notifications popping up to realize something felt off with Erika anymore. That uneasy feeling had allegedly been building quietly for quite some time, staying under the radar but heavy enough that it couldn't be brushed aside forever. Then, sources say, a leaked audio recording dropped like a bombshell and suddenly changed the temperature of everything. Insiders claim the tape features conversations that raised more than a few eyebrows, especially when timelines started lining up in ways that made people pause and say, wait, hold on a second. Rumors are swirling that Erika may have been secretly reconnecting with someone from her past, and the timing of those alleged calls and messages reportedly matched up almost perfectly with dates that Charlie's parents had already been quietly questioning for months, not days, months. This wasn't some overnight gossip session. According to multiple sources close to the circle, this was a pattern that had folks near the family comparing notes and realizing certain stories weren't adding up the way they once seemed to. And instead of letting things stay swept under the rug, Charlie's parents allegedly decided enough was enough and stepped right into the middle of it all.
I never dated here because I saw vicariously through my roommate how terrible it was. Somehow getting drinks was the replacement of having coffee and breakfast. I personally would rather have coffee or brunch with someone than I don't drink. I find it unproductive, not because I'm holier than whatever. I just don't operate that way. But I always thought it was very strange how she would go to drinks with one guy and then go to dinner with another.
Now, Picture this. Charlie had supposedly been asking himself some of the same tough questions for a while, but he kept them locked inside because, let's be real, once you open that door there's no easy way to close it again. Insiders say he hesitated to speak first, not out of fear, but because he understood that lighting that particular match could change everything. If the stories about past connections weren't lining up perfectly, then what else might have been left out or reframed along the way? And here's where the narrative takes a sharp turn, according to the chatter making rounds. Erika had built a very specific public image over the years, one that painted her as pure, disciplined, godly, and focused entirely on family life without the usual chaos that comes with dating and the social scene. She repeated that polished version in interviews, town halls, and public appearances, drawing a clear line that made her sound different from everyone else, elevated, untouched by the typical ups and downs. She even doubled down during her CBS town hall moment, reportedly saying she never dated in the years leading up to meeting Charlie. The wording was careful, the delivery confident, and it positioned her as someone who simply waited for the right person while living a clean, controlled life. But sources familiar with the early days say Charlie himself noticed some cracks pretty early on, vague timelines here, missing details there, stories that shifted slightly depending on who was listening. He clocked it all, according to those in the know, but without solid proof it stayed in that uncomfortable gray area where questions linger but answers don't rush to show up. That changed, people claim, when old photos and footage allegedly started resurfacing, images that placed Erika living a much more social single life in New York during the exact window she had described as quiet and dating-free. One particular piece of footage that's getting a lot of attention online comes from her appearance on Season 3 of Summer House. Filmed back in the summer of 2018 across New York City spots and the Hamptons, the clips show her out socializing, enjoying the scene, and fully embracing that lively atmosphere. When those moments resurfaced recently, Erika reportedly brushed it off as harmless fun from a different chapter. But online commentators couldn't help asking the sarcastic question, if it was truly no big deal, why push so hard to distance herself from it later? Once people started pulling on that thread, the inconsistencies allegedly began stacking up faster than you can say receipts. Timelines didn't always match the polished stories. Details shifted, and suddenly Charlie's quiet doubts, according to insiders, started looking less like paranoia and more like justified curiosity. Because this wasn't just about tweaking a few memories here and there, it looked, to some observers, like an attempt to rewrite an entire chapter. Erika was reportedly linked to multiple people during that period, even though the later narrative suggested that part of her life barely existed. One name that keeps coming up in the online sleuthing is Tyler J.T. Massey. Back in the day, sources point to an Arizona Foothills magazine interview where she spoke about him with real warmth, calling him her favorite human, her best friend, and her incredible boyfriend. No hesitation, no filters. That kind of open admiration hit different when contrasted with the never-dated framing that came years later. And it didn't stop at casual mentions. Engagement-style photos of the two allegedly spread online at one point, and while no official records confirmed anything formal, the images alone were enough to spark fresh conversations when they popped back up. People familiar with the timeline say Erika clearly preferred to keep that chapter in the rearview mirror, but the internet has a funny way of bringing old pictures back into the spotlight at the worst possible moments. Then there's the 2015 Trump rally footage that's been slowed down and dissected frame by frame. In the clip, Erika is seen standing near a man with a young girl positioned between them. Online observers started noticing visual similarities and drawing connections that fueled even more speculation. To be fair, nothing was ever definitively proven in that regard, but the optics alone reportedly reignited chatter that had been dormant for years. And standing nearby in the same bleachers? None other than Tyler Boyer, the same Tyler who would later play a key role in introducing Erika to Charlie and who has since risen high within Turning Point USA leadership. That overlap, according to the rumor mill, didn't sit right with a lot of people because it suggested Erika had been moving through those same political circles long before the fairy tale meeting story took center stage. Suddenly the question became, did she truly take time to close old doors and heal, or was it more of a rebrand moment, cleaning up the narrative and stepping forward with a fresh chapter? Critics online couldn't help wondering how much of the deeply pious, untouched image presented to Charlie was the full picture versus a version carefully constructed for the moment. Sources say this is exactly where the story stops sounding like innocent confusion and starts feeling more deliberate to some observers. Because Erika didn't just bump into Charlie in some whirlwind romance, according to the version making the rounds. The introduction allegedly came through Tyler Boyer in what was initially framed as a professional conversation that somehow turned into their first date. And right before that moment, Rumors claim she wasn't exactly living in isolation waiting for destiny. She was reportedly still involved with someone else in the conservative media world. That someone? Cabot Phillips, senior editor at the Daily Wire. Old tweets and photos, including one from a painting date back in September 2017, have resurfaced and allegedly show the two very much together during the exact period when the introduction to Charlie was happening. Add in social circle overlaps, like a basketball game where both Cabot and Charlie were present, and the dots, according to online investigators, start lining up in ways that make the random divine timing story feel a little less random to the skeptics. Charlie reportedly never came at this with loud public accusations. Instead, sources say once the timeline started clicking into place, he quietly pulled back and recalibrated. The dynamic shifted. He became more guarded with what he shared, more deliberate with family decisions, and noticeably more intentional about keeping his parents closely involved with the kids, not just as grandparents, but as an extra layer of stability and real-time accountability. People who noticed the change at the time didn't fully understand why, but now, according to the whispers, it makes complete sense. Charlie wanted witnesses, routine, and trusted eyes on the ground so nothing could be quietly rewritten later. He structured things like someone who sensed a storm on the horizon, tightening routines, shrinking the inner circle, and making every move more measured. This wasn't loud drama. No explosive fights caught on camera. But behind the scenes the energy had clearly changed, and that quiet recalibration said more than any shouting match ever could. This wasn't loud drama. No explosive fights caught on camera. But behind the scenes the energy had clearly changed, and that quiet recalibration said more than any shouting match ever could. According to insiders who watched things unfold, Charlie started structuring his entire life like someone who knew a storm might be coming, even if he never said the words out loud. His routines tightened up, his inner circle got noticeably smaller, and every decision involving the family started feeling more measured and intentional. Nothing moved on autopilot anymore. Every safeguard suddenly mattered. And then came the moment none of them saw coming. When Charlie was no longer here to push back, soften edges, or hold the whole narrative together, the responsibility didn't just vanish into thin air. Sources close to the family say the weight shifted straight onto his parents' shoulders. They are the ones allegedly left carrying the unanswered questions, the quiet doubts, and the heavy responsibility of figuring out what happens next. People familiar with the situation claim his parents have now decided they are done staying silent. No more sweeping things under the rug, no more preserving appearances if it means ignoring what they see as serious red flags. According to multiple sources, they've reportedly stepped forward and said enough is enough. The alleged lies, the timeline gaps, the overlapping stories, none of it can be brushed aside anymore, especially not when the kids are caught in the middle. The biggest move making headlines in the rumor mill right now? Whispers that Charlie's parents are allegedly demanding DNA tests. Not out of spite or tabloid drama, insiders insist, but out of a sense of obligation and protection. They no longer trust everything at face value, particularly when it comes to the most sensitive questions imaginable. Sources say this isn't about revenge or control. It's about wanting certainty, clarity, and making sure nothing important is built on doubt anymore. Here's what makes the timing feel even heavier to a lot of observers. While Charlie was alive, he supposedly carried some of these suspicions quietly, choosing peace and restraint over confrontation. But his parents don't have that same luxury now. They are the ones left holding the bag, the ones who have to make the harder calls when the person who kept everything steady is gone. According to the chatter, they are choosing truth over comfort, answers over silence, and protection over keeping up a story that no longer seems to hold together perfectly. And let me tell you, the internet is absolutely eating this up. Comment sections are on fire with people saying things like "we always felt something was off" and "the parents saw it coming from a mile away." Some are calling it the ultimate "we warned him" moment, while others are cracking dark jokes about how conservative empires have more plot twists than daytime soap operas. One viral comment even said, "This is what happens when the fairy tale gets fact-checked by receipts." But it goes deeper than memes and sarcasm. Sources claim that if the DNA tests were to confirm certain suspicions, Charlie's parents might be prepared to explore bigger steps, including pushing for custody arrangements to ensure the kids grow up in what they believe is the most stable environment possible. Grandparents don't usually jump toward that kind of territory lightly, so the fact that it's even being whispered about speaks volumes about how little trust remains in some corners of the family circle right now. Of course, none of this is confirmed in any official court filing yet. These are still rumors swirling through private conversations and online forums, but they are gaining serious traction because the supporting details keep piling up. Old interviews where Erika emphasized her disciplined, no-dating past are being replayed side by side with resurfaced photos and footage that seem to tell a different story. The contrast is brutal, and it's making a lot of people question how much of the public image was genuine versus carefully curated for the moment. Remember that 2015 Trump rally video that's been dissected frame by frame? The one where Erika stands near a man with a young girl between them, and Tyler Boyer is visible nearby? Online sleuths have been having a field day pointing out visual similarities and timeline overlaps that make the whirlwind romance narrative feel less like destiny and more like strategic timing to some critics. Add in the summer house clips showing a lively, partying side in the Hamptons, and suddenly the I never dated, never partied claims start looking like they were written with a very selective pen. Then there's the Cabot Phillips chapter. Old tweets from 2017, including one showing a casual painting date, have popped back up and allegedly place him and Erika together right around the time Tyler Boyer was facilitating that first professional introduction to Charlie. Social circles overlapping at events, basketball games where both men were present, according to the rumor crowd. The dots don't just connect, they line up almost too cleanly. Skeptics online are sarcastically asking, was this divine timing or just really good networking? Erika reportedly admitted in later reflections that she was actively dating during that window, which only adds fuel to the fire for those who feel the polished, untouched and waiting story was oversold. Sources say Charlie noticed these inconsistencies early but chose to move forward anyway, perhaps hoping love and faith would smooth everything over. But as the years went on and small cracks turned into bigger gaps, that quiet recalibration happened. More parental involvement with the kids, tighter boundaries, and a subtle shift in how decisions were made. Now that the spotlight is back on full blast after the tragedy, everything is being re-examined under a microscope. Leaked audios, resurfaced photos, old magazine interviews praising past boyfriends as favorite humans and incredible partners, it's all getting dragged back into daylight. And the sarcastic corner of the internet is having the time of its life asking, if it was all harmless fun, why try so hard to erase it from the official biography? People familiar with the inner circle claim Charlie's parents are no longer interested in protecting a narrative that feels incomplete. They want real answers, not polished versions. Whether it's about past relationships, timeline honesty, or deeper questions of trust, the pressure is building. Some commentators are joking that this feels like the conservative version of a reality TV reunion episode, except instead of dramatic chair throws, we're getting demands for DNA tests and custody whispers. The kids, of course, are stuck right in the middle of all this adult noise. That's the part that leaves a lot of observers genuinely unsettled. No matter how the rumors shake out, young lives are now surrounded by doubt, tension, and decisions being made way above their heads. Sources say Charlie always tried to shield them from the chaos while he was here, keeping suspicions private, choosing restraint over public blow-ups. But now that protective silence is gone, and the questions are coming out whether anyone feels ready or not. This whole situation highlights something bigger about public figures in general. We love the fairy tale versions, the godly marriage, the power couple building an empire together, the clean image that inspires followers. But when the receipts start piling up and timelines refuse to match, the fairy tale can crack faster than cheap porcelain. And once trust fractures at that level, according to insiders, it's almost impossible to glue back together without leaving visible lines. Charlie reportedly never took any of this public while he was alive. No dramatic accusations, no late-night social media rants, no forcing a showdown. He kept his doubts close, recalibrated quietly, and focused on protection behind the scenes. That silence wasn't weakness, a lot of people are calling it self-control and maturity. But now, with him no longer here to steady the ship, his parents are allegedly choosing a different path, forcing clarity into the open because they believe letting doubts fester is more dangerous than whatever uncomfortable truth comes next. But now, with him no longer here to steady the ship, his parents are allegedly choosing a different path, forcing clarity into the open because they believe letting doubts fester is more dangerous than whatever uncomfortable truth comes next. And once that door gets kicked open, there's no soft reset button, no quiet rewind, and definitely no going back to pretending everything was picture perfect when the receipts suggest otherwise. According to sources buzzing in the background, the image Erika spent years carefully building, that clean, disciplined, godly wife and mother narrative, is already taking heavy fire. Old stories are being replayed, timelines are getting cross-checked, and long-buried details are now front and center where they can't be politely ignored anymore. People online are calling it the ultimate unmasking moment, with some sarcastically joking that this feels like the conservative version of a plot twist in a prestige drama series where the heroine's flawless backstory suddenly develops more holes than Swiss cheese. The leaked audio that supposedly started this latest wave is only adding gasoline to the fire. Insiders claim the recording captures conversations that don't exactly match the polished public version of events, especially when it comes to past connections and how certain chapters were described over the years. Whether it's about secret reconnecting, timeline overlaps, or just general inconsistencies, the chatter is growing louder by the hour. One viral comment summed it up perfectly. Charlie's parents didn't just knock on the door, they came with a battering ram and a DNA kit. And let's not forget the visual details that have the internet in full detective mode. Photos from years ago are being zoomed in on, with some observers pointing out little things like hand scars and asking questions that range from curious to downright speculative. A particular image of Erika with what looks like a baby has people dissecting every pixel, wondering if it lines up with the official family timeline or if it opens up even more uncomfortable questions. Of course, none of this is proven in a lab. It's all rumor-fueled speculation right now, but in the age of slow-motion video and reverse image searches, once something catches fire online it spreads faster than gossip at a family reunion. Public reaction has been a wild mix of shock, sarcasm, and straight-up popcorn-eating entertainment. On one side you have loyal supporters saying this is all baseless attacks trying to tear down a movement after the tragedy. On the other side, critics and neutral observers are piling on with memes, side-by-side comparisons, and sarcastic one-liners like "never dated?" Tell that to the summer house footage and the painting date tweets. Even some longtime followers are admitting the contradictions are getting harder to ignore, with comments like "I wanted to believe the fairy tale, but the receipts are doing too much right now." This isn't just tabloid noise anymore. Sources say the fallout could stretch far beyond family drama. If the alleged DNA demands turn into something more formal, we could be looking at legal conversations that drag private doubts into very public territory. Custody whispers, trust issues, and questions about who gets to shape the kid's future are already floating around certain circles. Grandparents stepping up like this doesn't happen in happy, drama-free households. It usually signals that confidence has completely eroded and concern has taken over completely. Hypothetically speaking, if things keep escalating, some insiders predict we might see resignations or major shifts inside Turning Point USA circles as people pick sides and try to distance themselves from the mess. Others are joking that the empire Charlie built could face its biggest internal stress test yet, not from political enemies, but from old photos, leaked tapes, and family members who refuse to stay quiet anymore. The sarcastic take making rounds is simple. When the parents go nuclear, even the most carefully curated brand starts looking a little singed around the edges. What really has people unsettled is how this affects the kids caught in the crossfire. No matter which way the rumors swing, young lives are now surrounded by tension, speculation, and adult decisions happening way over their heads. Charlie reportedly worked hard to keep them shielded while he was alive, keeping suspicions private, choosing restraint, and making sure they had stability and multiple trusted adults around. Now that protective layer feels thinner, and the questions are coming whether the family feels ready or not. At the end of the day, this whole saga shines a harsh spotlight on something a lot of us already know but hate admitting. Public figures are human. They have pasts, they make choices, they sometimes rewrite chapters to fit the image they want the world to see. Erika built her entire brand around being the exception, the pure, untouched, disciplined one who skipped the usual chaos and went straight to family and faith. When old summer house clips, magazine interviews calling exes favorite humans, and timeline overlaps with other conservative media figures resurface, that exception starts looking more like a very selective edit. Sources close to the situation claim Charlie sensed some of these cracks years ago but chose love, faith, and forward momentum over digging too deep. He recalibrated quietly, involved his parents more, and planned like someone preparing for rain even on sunny days. That approach showed maturity and self-control, according to many observers. But now, with him gone, the silence has been broken and the parents are allegedly refusing to let uncomfortable questions stay buried. Whether the DNA tests happen, whether custody talks materialize, or whether this stays in rumor territory forever, one thing seems clear from the outside. The fairytale version of the Kirk story is under serious renovation. The polished image that inspired so many is being stripped down piece by piece, replaced by conflicting timelines, resurfaced photos, and a family dynamic that no longer trusts words without proof. And caught right in the middle are the children who never asked for any of this spotlight. That part leaves a sour taste for a lot of people watching from afar. Instead of certainty and stability, they are surrounded by doubt, online chatter, and decisions being made in rooms they'll probably hear about years later. This situation also raises bigger questions about trust in the conservative movement as a whole. How much do we really know about the people we put on pedestals? How carefully do we fact-check the inspiring backstories versus enjoying the motivational packaging? The sarcastic crowd is already asking whether this is just one high-profile example of what happens when personal branding collides with real-life receipts. No matter how this chapter ultimately ends, with clear answers, continued whispers, or somewhere in between, the carefully sold narrative has taken a serious hit.